It is quite simply the most breathtaking piece of motorsport real estate anywhere in the world. The rich heritage of Mount Panorama Bathurst dates back to 1938, when Englishman Peter Whitehead won the Australian Grand Prix on the dusty and rutty mountain road known then as Bald Hills. 28 years ago, Bathurst became home to what is now known as Australia's Great Race. Initially a 500-mile endurance contest for showroom production cars, it changed in 1974 to a 1,000k metric marathon. During those early days, few of the Panorama pioneers were distracted by side issues such as circuit safety. However, between these cement corridors, the risks are great, and 4 drivers have paid the ultimate price. Legends live on at this famous address. Men like Bob Jane and Harry Firth, who won the first Classic in '63, return each year to soak up the atmosphere and keep a watchful eye on their contemporaries, including Alan Moffat, Peter Brock, Freddie Gibson and Colin Bond. Then there are those who wait to write their own chapters of mountain history, the young guns who cannot believe the vice-like grip members of the old firm have had on this race and this place. For 363 days each year, this 6.2 kilometre scenic public road is open to two-way vehicular traffic. The 60k speed limit is strictly enforced, but with the arrival of the October holiday weekend, the pace picks up appreciably. The 7 Network welcomes viewers across the globe to Bathurst, New South Wales, for the 29th edition of Mountain Tradition, that is the Tooheys 1000. The world's greatest touring car race.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome to Mount Panorama and the Great Race. Wherever you may be watching in Australia or overseas, we certainly hope you'll enjoy 7 Sports live and exclusive coverage of the Tooheys 1000. Well, we saw in our opening just some of the history that surrounds this great race. Yesterday, 24-year-old Victorian Mark Scaife stamped his name in the history books with a sizzling lap in the Tooheys Top 10 shootout. Behind the microphone and heading our commentary team for his 21st year of phenomenal effort is Mike Raymond. Mike, welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you, Sandy, and good morning to Richard Hay and Mark Osler. Well, guys, I think we have very, very hot conditions here today for a super race. Everyone believes that the Nissans are odds-on favourite. Do you see it that way?
Well, yes, except that 1988, I think it was, they were odds-on favourites then. They lasted 17 minutes, both cars.
Mark, we followed them in the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. If you had to place a bet, Nissan 1-2?
They're certainly the runaway favourites, yeah. If it was a horse race, you'd be putting money on it. But the whole key to this race is how hard the Sierras and Commodores can push that car.
Yeah. Well, the action, of course, Sandy, started here just over half an hour ago with the morning warm-up and the traditional Scots School Bathurst band, the pipes and drums, piping the cars into pit lane for the first time. Tremendous atmosphere and a huge crowd here at Mount Panorama early this morning. We saw probably a record turnout yesterday for the Tooheys Top 10, and of course we have them streaming into the circuit at the moment. They certainly broke the morning silence, leading the cars down pit lane, the drivers getting ready for the morning warm-up that lasts just on 20 minutes. Drivers take the opportunity to go out, probably do 2 or 3 laps, come in, make sure the car is balanced, it's set, and they are ready to race. The real action, though, here at Mount Panorama began on Wednesday. The Tooheys Top 10 yesterday, of course, produced no surprises in Mark Scaife getting pole position. But really, it has been a week of drama. Wednesday's track time was a handy guide to what Team Nissan had in mind for the rest of the week. The 2 Gibson Motorsport GTRs came out firing with low 14-second laps, closely followed by Glenn Seaton's Peter Jackson Sierra and the GIO GTR of Sydney speedster Mark Gibbs. By Thursday, Mark Scaife and Jim Richards were into the 13s, and on Friday, the 12s. Picking up the pace caused problems for some like Kiwi Kane Scott, who had a lose at Repco but recovered. Not so on the exit to the cutting, where he got out of shape and clattered the concrete, giving the tape crew work they didn't really need. Despite a couple of mild spins and a little body contact, the qualifying sessions were remarkably free of the usual crash and carnage. Yesterday's top 10 shootout brought together 4 Sierras, three Nissans and the Commodore trio of Percy Perkins and Perfect Peter. First out was Tasmanian David Parsons in the Peter Jackson Sierra. Smooth run for 2:17.581. Then it was time for Win Percy to launch the V8 attack. He gave it his best shot, but the time of 2:17.7 was slower than his Friday best. Dick Johnson went quicker in the 17 Shell Sierra, shaving almost half a second off his best for the week. But then it was time for Brock to deliver some mountain magic, and he didn't disappoint a soul. Really gassing it up now as he comes out of the turn and heads up to BP. There's Brock at work.
A picture of total concentration. Brock at 10/10 around Mount Panorama, a circuit he dearly loves, and a circuit he does particularly well at.
Boy, he's putting the boot in. Yeah, he's chasing the thing all the way up to the rev limiter in each gear, and he braked very, very late at the end of Mountain Straight. Look at the car leap over there. It's set up reasonably soft. The front left wheel was about 18 inches off the deck, I think, through Reed Park.
And listen to that crowd.
Look at the rear wheel. It was off the deck over the top of McPhillamy.
Oh, listen to the crowd. They're loving this. The Mountain Master, Brock, 9 times winner, back in a Holden, and gee, he's really on the limit.
And he's not running the race engine, running a practice engine, so he can afford to give it everything. The crowd might be loving it. He wouldn't have liked that moment. That cost him time getting sideways there. He had to lift off and get the thing recovered.
16.07, 2:16.07 for Peter Brock. Certainly a big improvement, but he won't be happy.
You made a couple of little mistakes, mate.
Yeah.
What about McPhillamy Park?
Yeah, what happened is I had the brakes adjusted for a full tank of petrol, and foolishly as I touched the brake, I went in and oversteered. And the same thing over here. I thought, oh, Brock, what are you doing?
Brock, I can tell you the mob on the hill loved it.
I loved it, mate, because I kept the pedal to the metal, as you know, Slug.
Teammate Larry Perkins followed in the number 11 Mobile machine and cut a solid lap of 2:17.01. Slower than his previous best, but reasonably happy just the same.
On paper, the Nissans are quicker. They're a racing car, not a touring car.
Tasmanian John Bow was the first and only driver to get into the 15s. His lap was a beauty, and not even Drew Price and the number 2 Nissan GTR could better the mark. Then it was time for Glenn Seaton to deliver his best in the number 30 Peter Jackson Sierra. His lap was super smooth, and the young Victorian stopped the clocks at 2:14.90, and he was stoked.
I really wanted to get on the front row of the grid this weekend and sort of top the weekend off so far, and hopefully come tomorrow we can sort of beat them Nissans. But I'm really wrapped with the car. It's been working fantastic all week.
Then it came down to the final two. Mark Gibson, the GIO GTR, and Mark Scape aboard the number 1 machine. Gibbs' effort was most impressive at 2:13.88, considerably faster than his Friday best, and a guaranteed berth in the front row. Scape responded as only he can, charging around the course in 2 minutes 12.63 seconds, his personal best for the week, and pole position for today's Tooheys 1000.
Pretty good lap. I got a little bit untied in a couple of spots, but that's about as good as we can do.
Well, if that was untied and you've got pole position, you've got a little bit up your sleeve, you're saying that?
No, not really. I think that's about as quick as we can go.
So here's how the top 10 will line up today. Scape and Jim Richards in the number 1 Nissan from pole. 2, the GIO GTR of Gibbs and Rowan Onslow. 3, the Peter Jackson Sierra with Seaton and Greg Hansford. 4, the number 18 Shell Sierra of John Bow and Terry Shield. 5, the pride of Queensland, Dickie Johnson and Kiwi Paul Radisich in the number 17 Shell Sierra. 6, the Mobile 05 Commodore of Peter Brock and Andrew Madecki. 7, the number 2 Nissan of Drew Price and Gary Walden. 8 is Larry Perkins and Thomas Mazira in the number 11 Mobile Commodore. From 9, David Parsons and Wayne Park in the Peter Jackson Sierra. And 10, the defending champions Win Percy and Alan Grice in the Holden Racing Team Commodore.
Yes, there is the top 10, and tremendous interest this year as to just who will be King of the Mountain. Peter Brock is having his 23rd start in the race. And now back with the General, Peter Perfect is chasing his 10th win here at Mount Panorama.
Football, meat pies, Peter Brock and Holden cars have been part of our sporting heritage for over 2 decades. Peter's winning ways at Mount Panorama commenced in 1972. Since then, he's called at Victory Lane on 9 occasions, all for Holden. 75 was the era of the SLR 5000. 78 and 79 he teamed with Jim Richards in the A9X, before giving Commodore its first victory in 1980. A hat-trick with Larry Perkins in 82, 83 and 84 saw the lad from Eltham finally dubbed Peter Perfect. His 9th win was a rebound ace from FISA when the sport's governing body TKO'd the Eggenberger Sierras from the 87 results. Brocky has since tried unsuccessfully to win Bathurst for both BMW and Ford. But this year he's back with the great Aussie V8 engineered by Larry Perkins. And somehow, podium visit number 10 does seem a reality.
Well, in the words of 9 times champion Peter Brock, the key to Bathurst is teamwork between the drivers, the cars and the pit crews. One mistake from any area and months of preparation can literally count for nothing. Neil Crompton, a starter in today's race, knows only too well the importance of pit crews.
It may be a well-worn motor racing cliche, but races like the Tooheys 1000 are very often won or lost in the pits. Pit stops and vehicle servicing efficiency are critical. Up to 11 people must work together with military precision under the pressure of a stopwatch in difficult and dangerous conditions. It's a task that's often bungled, and when things do go wrong, it usually spells the end of that team's chance of success. So in that flurry of noise and activity, what exactly is going on? Let's look at the Glenn Seaton Greg Hansford Ford Sierra as an example. When the Sierra rockets into the pit lane, the drill begins, and in this case, 11 specialists leap to work. The cast includes a car manager up front, 2 drivers, 4 wheelmen, 2 refuelers, 1 vent bottle operator and a fireman. The rules dictate that no more than 7 people, excluding the drivers, are allowed to touch the car at any given moment. Today we can expect cars like the Sierra to make up to 4 stops. The first is for fuel, tyres and a driver change. The second for fuel, tyres, a driver change and front brake pads. The third for fuel, tyres, a driver change and possibly rear pads. And the fourth, and hopefully final, for fuel, tyres, maybe a driver change and front brake pads. When the car comes to a halt, an air coupling is attached at the nose and 4 internal air jacks lift the Sierra off the ground. The wheelmen remove the lock nut with air-operated rattle guns. This car has centre lock single nut wheels. Other teams may run 5 studded wheel fixings and nuts. Up above you can see the gantry holds the air lines clear of the car. Now, a fuel, tyre and driver change stop generally takes around about 30 seconds. This stop, where the team performs those functions plus a brake pad change, about 60-75 seconds. At the front of the car, once the wheel is removed, the tricky process of changing brake pads commences, usually a very tough task if the pads have buckled or jammed. But we'll come back to this process. Behind me, the drivers are already into their gymnastics. Now, hang on a minute, guys. Let's slip into rewind and have a closer look at this. Greg's opened the door and unclipped Glenn's radio cord. The driver normally undoes his belt as he's about to stop, and the current rules permit the engine to be running. Once they've swapped, the departing driver then hooks up the radio as the driver does battle with the 6-point harness. And while all this action is unfolding, the car manager's busy cleaning the normally filthy windscreen and checking all the fluid levels under the bonnet. This is what it all looks like from back here. The refuelers are dumping 120 litres of fuel into the dry brake tank system. The Seaton team uses individual fuel churns. Other teams may use an overhead tank and hose. The churns hold 40 litres each. Over here, the vent bottle holder is standing by ready to catch the overflow when the tank's full. Let's explain the dry brake fueling system a bit better. The spring-loaded nozzle on the churn is pushed into the spring-loaded receiver. When they're coupled, there's no spillage of fuel. To enable the fuel to dump freely, the system is vented. The churns are vented here, and the tank breathes via a vent bottle. This clear bottle is pushed into an identical coupling system and the cap on the bottle's open. It takes about 10 seconds to empty each churn, and they're heavy. The fuel rushes in unimpeded, and once the tank is full, the vent bottle begins to fill. Rod will then rip the bottle back, and the spring-loaded valve seals the tank and there's no spill. Now back to the brake pad change up front. Once Paul's wrestled the old mangled pads out of the caliper, he uses the pliers again to squeeze the pistons back and fits the new pads. Let's look at that again. With the pads removed, he then squeezes back the hydraulic pistons. When they're right back into the caliper, there's sufficient clearance to fit the new full-width meaty brake pads. Glenn's car doesn't have retaining bridges at the front of the calipers, so all Paul has to do is fit the pads and snap in the retaining clip. Then the wheel goes back on. This whole process is hot and dangerous work. The old pads are smouldering away at about 800 degrees C, and nothing in the wheel well would be cooler than about 200 degrees C. Now, there's a couple of extra considerations. Remember that once you've pulled off the circuit and you're not at racing speed, you're losing a heap of time to the opposition. So the time it takes to get in and out of the pits is critical. You'd be staggered by the number of disasters that can and do occur in these stops, but when you get them constantly right and your on-track performance is upwards, you can smoke the opposition.
Affable Queenslander Dick Johnson is one of the most popular drivers in the country. Over the years, the fans have warmed to the man who's continually defied the odds.
Finishing between a rock and a hard place at Bathurst in 1980 inadvertently launched Dick Johnson into the touring car big time, and he hasn't looked back since. A year later, he was crowned King of the Mountain after the race was declared 43 laps short due to the monumental stack at Skyline. On that occasion, though, Johnson was in the right place at the right time. His Australian Touring Car Championship record is impressive, with 5 wins since 1981. Johnson and Bathurst meant drama for many years, but in '89, at the height of the Shell Sierra reign, Dick nailed his second victory, thanks to faithful sidekick John Bowe. This year has not been kind to the Queenslander, but during the August media day, the Shell Sierra was certainly on the pace, and the demon from Daisy Hill gives himself every chance of picking up win number 3 here today.
They're coming from everywhere for the great race today, and that gentleman making a successful landing and no doubt taking his spot. Let's now take a look at the entire field. Here's Mike.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Jim Richards and Mark Scaife hold pole position for the great race. Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow sharing the GIO Nissan. From 3, it's car number 30, Seaton and Hansford. From position number 4, 18, John Bowe and Terry Shield. And from 5, Dick Johnson and Kiwi Paul Radisich.
From 6, Peter Perfect, Peter Brock and Andy Miedeke. From 7, Price and Walden with the second of the Works Nissans. 8, Perkins Mazzara with the second of the Mobile Cars. 9, Parsons and Park. And 10, last year's winners, Percy and Grice.
From position 11, Longhurst and Jones in the little BMW. From position 12, car 10, Brancatelli and O'Brien in the first of the Moffat Sierras. From 13, car 7, Brad Jones and Neil Crompton in the Holden Commodore. From 14, car 8, Bond and Crosby. And from position 15, Millen and Brabham in the second Moffat Sierra.
From position number 16, it's Ashby and Reed in the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. 17, 15, John Smith and Morgan in the Mercantile Mutual Supra. From 18, 28, Kevin Waldock and Peters in the Playscape Sierra. From 19, 20, Peter Fitzgerald and Denny Holm in the BMW. And 20, number 12, English and Scott in the Valvoline Sierra.
From position 21, Moore and Michel Delcourt from Belgium with their Commodore. Bolwell and Abrahams in the Sierra for position 22. 23rd, car 33, Pearson and Stewart. 24th, Finnegan and Leeds with their Commodore. And 25th, Scott and Taylor with the third of the Shell Sierras.
From position 26, car 39, O'Brien and Callaghan in the Everlast Commodore. From 27, car 6, the 2 Grants in the sizzling Nissan. From 28, car 13, Jansen and Gazzard in the Commodore. From position 29, car 14, Johnson and Johnson, Queensland. Position 30, car 41, Wilmington and Awadullah in the Supra.
Position 31, 44, Barrow and McIntyre in the Sierra. 32 is 52, Cotter and Doolman in the BMW. 33, car number 21, Jones and Emery in the Commodore. From 34, car 34, the father and son combo, Golson and Golson. And from 35, 50, Sala and Lusty in the Tyre Town Sierra.
From position 36, car 26, Hendrick and Lambden with their Commodore. 37th, Tyndall and Stewart with another Commodore. And 38th, yet another Commodore, Donaher and Donaher. Jeff Full's remarkable little Corolla heads the bottom class, the small engine class with car 78 in 39th. And 40th, Sharp and Salvegta with the BMW M3.
From 41, Bates and the Mercantile Mutual Corolla. From 42, Searle and Griffiths in another Corolla. 43 is Sala and Stratton in the Corolla. 44 is Verheyen and Vernon in the Corolla. 45 is 76 Conway and Gardner.
From position 46, car 75, Wright and Dunford and Bob Holden's Corolla. From 47, car 73, Holden and Altonen in another Corolla. 48, car 77, the Foreshore Vorst Corolla.
And so there we have it, the entire field for this year's great race. And although Nissans will start a warm favourite for this year's race, Alan Grice is confident they can be beaten, and beaten by his HRT Commodore. His solution is simple. Like last year, the Holdens will just wear them down.
For sheer versatility and achievement, Alan Grice has few peers in Australian motorsport. The man they call the meanest amigo tried unsuccessfully for many years to tame Mount Panorama. Then, in 1986, it all came together. Grice spent most of the season giving the Europeans what for in their own championship, before teaming with Graham Bailey to win Bathurst in the Chickadee Commodore. Europe again beckoned, this time with a Nissan contract. But NASCAR and Oscar Racing were on the launching pad at home, and he was sold on the formula. He campaigned successfully in both classes, became the first non-American to qualify for the World 600 at Charlotte, and was toasted by the US media. Last year, he accepted Wyn Percy's invitation to join him at Holden for the Tooheys 1000. It's history now, they cracked the jackpot. And just to prove he does possess that mountain magic, Grice also won the inaugural James Hardy 12-hour classic here in April. Grice, Percy and Holden are back together for the 91 edition Tooheys 1000, and given the general success rate at this place and this race, you'd be foolish to wager against them.
The countdown continues to the Tooheys 1000, the great race for 1991. In fact, it'll be underway in just a little over 15 minutes from now. But right now, a very important duty. I have with me the Chief Executive Officer of the Channel 7 television network, Mr. Bob Campbell. He's got a very big cheque for Mark Scaife, the pole sitter.
Thank you, Gary. On behalf of the 7 network and the sponsor Tooheys, Mark, congratulations on pole in a record time of 2:12.26. Good luck for today. Well done.
Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you.
15,000. What are you going to do with that?
Give it straight to Freddie. I think we probably need every one of them. But no, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Tooheys and the Channel 7 network for the support of the race. And hopefully by 4 o'clock this afternoon we can take some more money off them.
OK, good luck today. Mark Scaife, pole winner, the man that's going to be in the hot seat when the flag drops on the Tooheys 1000 in a very few minutes from now. Right now, here's Mike Raymond.
Thank you very much, Gary Wilkinson. Well, just look at the colour along Pitt Straight. We have the field lined up. I notice Alan Moffat's number 9 car sitting over there, the Synovus Vitamin Sierra. The number 4 GIO Nissan GTR to be driven today by Mark Gibbs. We have some indication of the drivers who will actually start the race. Jim Richards will start in the pole-winning Nissan. Mark Gibbs, Glenn Seaton, John Bowe, Dick Johnson, and of course 05 is Peter Brock. Jimmy, looking happy. He'll be carrying one of our race cams today. So too Dick Johnson, Peter Brock, Colin Bond will have 2 specialist cameras, and we'll be able to talk to Niels on Wheels, Crompton, and of course young Bradley Jones.
This is the first time in Bathurst history we've had an all Nissan front row. Quite an historic moment, this. And Nissan have worked very hard to get here. It's been 10 years since they started their campaign for outright honours on Mount Panorama. It hasn't gone well for them over the years.
So that's the scene at the moment as we go trackside now to Gary Wilkinson.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the combined services of the Golden Kangaroos and the band of the 2nd Military District, it's now my pleasure to introduce, to perform the national anthem, Advance Australia Fair, the king of country music in Australia, James Blundell.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth to toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds with beauties rich and rare. On history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Now, the Minister for Sport in New South Wales, Mr. George Souris.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Australian Racing Drivers Club, Tooheys 1000 and Channel 7, it's my very great pleasure to get the 1991 Tooheys 1000 underway for today, and I'll do it in the traditional way, calling for, gentlemen, start your engines.
That is the best time the racing I've ever heard. Yes,
Jimmy Richards in the number 1 car sits there. Pictures from our pole cam that will be able to bring you beneath the cars during the pit stops.
Well, the big advantage, of course, that the Nissan people and the Brocks and the Moffats and the Seatons enjoy is the fact that when the flag drops, their script doesn't go out the window like it does with a lot less experienced and less well financially supported teams, I guess. They've got a plan and they'll stick to it right through the day, and they'll cope with whatever might go wrong.
Not too far off the start, about 10 seconds away from the 1991 Great Race. The 7 Network welcomes you to Bathurst. The 29th edition of the Great Race. They're racing off the starting line. We take chopper cam, and you can see that Mark Gibbs has absolutely stonewalled them off the start, and in fact I wouldn't be surprising to see whether Dick Johnson has been able to get up on the outside. Jim Richards missed the kick initially, but they're all through the first turn and heading up Mountain Straight now for the first time. No incidents through past the sand trap, and Mark Gibbs, the young Sydney driver driving for Bob Forbes Racing in the GIO Nissan, there he is, out in front. Jimmy Richards back in third, and it looks like a great start from Dickie Johnson or John Bower.
Nissan Ford as they head up the mountain for the first time. A poor start from Richards, but he did get it going. Look at this, the GIO car of Gibbs Onslow. These young guys have got a lot to prove, and they would be rapt to be leading the first lap of this race.
And Glenn Seaton coming back after a tardy start, slipped from 3rd position on the grid back to about 9th, but has recovered a few places already.
You can't win this one in one lap, but Mark Gibbs is sprinting. The 2 Johnson Sierras, 2nd and 4th, split by Jimmy Richards, and wait for the crowd to acknowledge Peter Brock and the Holden set at the top of the mountain. Here's Richards sitting in behind Johnson.
There's the second of the Nissan GTRs, the Price Walden car. Peter Brock just ahead of him, holding up the Holden flag on the first lap around.
Coming down towards the dipper. The exit from there. Win Percy up with them. Beautiful shot from our chopper at the top of Mount Panorama as they run down towards Mazda Forest Elbow. And an incident-free start to the event as they work their way now onto Conrod Straight for the first time. One of the early ones, our car number 32, with a head gasket problem in the pits already.
Bobby Tyndall. Big disappointment for him.
Yes, they would be. That's the GIO car that's cross-entered for Gibbs and Onslow, so they haven't got another car to fall back on. But boy, if they got the pedal down on this opening lap, they've opened about 100 metres on the field as they come through Caltech's chase the first time around.
Notice one of the Moffat cars already up alongside Win Percy, and down on the brakes comes Jim Richards, takes the number 18 car. Dick Johnson sits in behind as they strike off the first lap here at Mount Panorama. Mark Gibbs, driving for Bob Forbes Racing in the Nissan, sponsored by GIO, will lead them up Mountain Straight for the second time.
Nissan first and second, then the 2 Shell Team Sierras, followed by the second of the Nissan team cars.
They go beneath the Nissan bridge. What a beautiful start. Let's have a look at the Prima Holiday replay as we take our race cam with Dick Johnson. He got away very smartly behind them, and it was John Bow up on the outside who was able to slot into second place behind Gibbs, then Richards, then Johnson. That was the order off the start in the opening lap.
Head up the mountain for the second time. The two Shell Sierras holding station. Bow ahead of Johnson. And then we've got the first of the Commodores, Peter Brock and Win Percy. It's going to be a hot pace in these opening laps. The Nissans I predicted to be around the high 16s, low 17s, certainly this early in the race. And it will be up to the top Sierras and the Commodores to push these cars. As we get into the first hour or two of the race, we'll see some sort of form emerging. But certainly by their qualifying times, the Nissans are on top at the mountain in 1991.
Drew Price looks anxious to go faster in behind the Shell team cars too, as the others at the front are getting away. Gibbs pursued hotly now by Jim Richards. Once he got past Dick Johnson's opened up quite a space.
Once again they exit Forest Elbow. Bow, Johnson, and the other Nissan, of course, trying to pass the pair of them down Conrod Straight. Absolutely flat strap there.
There we are, as we expected, the two Nissans making a break on the field. Richards has certainly closed the gap on the Gibbs Onslow car. Two Shell Sierras locked in there, the third of the works cars, as they filed into Caltech's chase.
And you can see the gap there too. About 150, 200 metres back now to the third, fourth and fifth cars. Gibbs being hauled in rapidly by Jim Richards. Richards, I think, anxious to get to the lead. Nose to tail, the next half dozen. Glenn Seaton going through. Neil Crompton, or Brad Jones rather, in the number 7 Holden dealer team car.
Well, the beauty for Jimmy Richards here is that he's got a second car to fall back on if something goes wrong with this car, so they can really use the lead car as the hare and make all the tortoises follow.
Dice for the lead now as Mark Gibbs in the GIO Nissan is passed by Jimmy Richards on the outside. Richards sneaks up, takes the lead away. Gibson will now fall in behind. They've already established quite a break over the rest of the field. The exit from Repco Corner, and they work their way now towards BP Cutting. And I would think probably Mark Gibbs is not too disappointed about that. He can sit in behind Richards, watch what he does, and he's clear of the traffic.
Drew Price has taken the 17 Shell car, moved up one slot.
Out of Tui's turn now to work the top part of the mountain. The lurch here to the right.
Second of the works cars running conservatively all week, and I guess that's the race plan. Keep that car on the island without a scratch on it. And if something goes wrong with number 1, they've got it there to fall back on. So we take race cam inside Peter Brock's mobile Commodore. Brocky hard at work, trying to nail one of the Shell Sierras as they head down the mountain. Brock did a spectacular qualifying lap in the top 10 runoff yesterday. He's really on fire at the mountain this year.
Johnson just ahead. Peter Brock, a master at this. And as they exit Mazda Corner, it doesn't require too much in the way of commentary. Just listen to that awesome V8. Thought you were travelling quickly with Brock, and then all of a sudden Glenn Seaton just blew by him. We'll stay with Brock because he has Win Percy and he is just a pass master on Mount Panorama.
Glenn Seaton, the man on the move, has cleaned up Brock at the end of the straight, now looking after one of the Shell cars. Very impressive first few laps from Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra. The man who's been on form all year, finished 4th in this year's Australian Touring Car Championship. The car has seemed virtually bulletproof all year.
Last lap for Jim Richards, 2:18.
Look at this as Glenn Seaton on the inside. Here he comes, car number 30, through on the inside of Dick Johnson. He may have missed the start, as Gary pointed out. Wow, straight over the top of their track cam is Jim Richards, the exit from Mazda Corner, and he now works Conrod Straight. That's the gap back to second. Mark Gibbs, a little taily coming out of there. then followed by John Bower. Next one is Drew Price. Then Glenn Seaton and those bunch of Holdens right behind him. One of the Corollas just down a lap already as Richard sprints down Conrod Straight. Here comes Seaton down the outside of the Sierra.
We've got car 7, the second HRT car, in the pits. Looks like a regulation tyre change.
That's Bradley Jones, I think, at the wheel. Seven rejoins in position number 25.
Last lap time for Glenn Seaton, 2 minutes 19.9.
And you'll notice, look here on the inside, Win Percy. And Brocky moves up on the Nissan as well. They're trying to smother it across the top of Mount Panorama.
And the second Larry Perkins car also takes Price. 3 cars through in about a 200-metre distance. I wonder if there's a problem there, or Drew's just being extra conservative.
I would say Drew is being conservative at this stage. They don't want him to get involved in this.
That was pretty heady stuff from the Holdens through them, sneaking through in the one section. But Win Percy is really on a charge.
And John Bower in the 18 Shell car has picked up 2 seconds on second place getter Mark Gibbs on the last lap. So there's a big battle developing there for second place behind Jim Richards as well.
The approach shot now to Caltech's Chase, where they are absolutely flat strap. Now down on the brakes through the gears. When Percy closes up on the tail of the Pride of Queensland, but gets it sideways. And out goes Percy. Will he hit the wall? He saves it. Brakes are locked on. Percy has been able to save that, the 16 car.
But there is damage on that front right-hand guard. Look at that. That tyre is almost rubbing there. That is expensive for HRT. Let's see if Percy comes into the pits.
Well, he should come in immediately.
Yeah, the tyre is rubbing. You can see smoke coming off the front tyre, but he's going to do another lap. Now, this will be critical to the result of this car in this race. I'm sure he's not aware that he has this problem. And if he cuts a tyre, he is in big trouble.
Let's have a look at it. Our race cam replay courtesy of Prima Holidays. Win Percy getting totally out of shape and off the infield.
He's done it all by himself. Overcooked it coming into the chase. Deary me. Now, HRT have some problems very early in the race.
Well, he had all 4 locked on. He didn't want to tail that into the wall. Now, if he can get another lap out of it, but if it cuts through the tyre, he's got a major problem.
And back towards the front, John Bower has passed Mark Gibbs and is in second place and pursuing Jim Richards.
This is nail-biting stuff for Holden Racing Team. This tyre is being cut by the guard at some stage. You can see the smoke rubbing off it. It won't be so bad on the corners where the car's weighed the other way. But as he loads the car up coming into the left-handers, the tyre's getting a workout. Now, I'm sure with the advanced communication system they have with the pits, Percy would be now aware that he's got this problem. And let's just have the fingers crossed he can make it around to the pits on this lap.
Well, of course, all of the teams have the output of our 7 network broadcast. And even if Wynn was unaware, one of the crew members would be able to see off the monitor the problems. And I would dare say they'd be calling Wynn to the pits, some of the refuse off to the side of the circuit, as Percy comes down beneath the Subaru bridge, down towards the dipper.
More Commodore dramas. The Brock pit are ready with tyres. Plenty of activity down there, so we may see one of the mobile cars in very shortly as well.
Jim Richards continues to lead the race. John Bower running second. There's been another change behind them, though. Glenn Seaton is in third spot now. Mark Gibbs dropping back to fourth. The gap between first and second, Richards to Bower, is only 10.9 seconds.
There is the second place man, John Bower, the Shell car 18. Running very strongly in second place in this opening parts of the race.
2 laps in succession now. He's taken around 2 seconds out of the leader.
An interesting strategy this by the Shell team. They originally had Bower and Johnson entered for the 1 car. But as qualifying worked its way through the week, Bower decided to pick up on car 18. So we've got Bower in 18 car and Dick Johnson in the 17 car.
That was very generous of you to say that. I don't know whether John Bower actually decided. In fact, I don't think he was all that happy about it.
Well, they've been setting some pretty hot laps all week, and look at these Conrod speeds, courtesy of Altrex. 283 for John Bower in the Sierra, 282 for Gibbs, that's interesting, and 281 for the Commodore. So at this stage, from the race trim, the car's quite evenly matched on Conrod Straight.
Race cam in the Bond, Crosby, Caltex, Sierra. Hot in pursuit of Charlie O'Brien in the Synovus entry. at the bottom of Conrod Straight. Take the left-hand turn now into Pitt Straight. This is where they all started from not so long ago.
This will give you at home a great view of the circuit here at Mount Panorama as we ride on top of Colin Bond's Caltech CXT Sierra. He's trying to catch Charlie O'Brien in the Moffat car. Was very, very close a while ago. It's opened up just a little bit, I think probably due to traffic. And Colin, the former Great Race winner, carrying 2 race cams today. This is view 1 that we'll show you. Heading through Repco, and there's the second one that is mounted on the side of the door. This will give you an idea of how close they go to the walls here. We'll stay with this across Skyline, see just how quickly over the white line, coming up to Tooheys Turn. Left hand a kink here. Now the track dips away to the right here. The fast line is the inside, just almost shave. Now down towards the dipper. Close, isn't it? Great pitches. Now down to Mazda corner. And for the run down Conrod Straight, we'll take the other angle on top of the roof. And here's the 18 car coming into the pits now. And John Brady is our man on the scene.
Yeah, what this one's all about is trying to make sure that they can eventually pair Dick Johnson and John Bowe in the one car. The reasoning was at the start they put them in 2 cars, figured which car was going to be the best, and then pair them in that car. Both cars are going well. They've decided now to get Bowe out of this one early so they can get him teamed up with Dick Johnson from now on. It is scheduled. They're doing it very well. Not a hitch in sight. Just waiting to strap up Paul Radicic now. Won't take a second, and we'll be back in action. The interesting thing perhaps is that they're a little happy in the Sierra camp as to how the pressure they're managing to put on to the Nissans. They were afraid the Nissans may have got further away than they have, and that's why they want Bowe and Johnson together.
Thank you, John, for that. The number 25 B&H BMW. Longhurst now just passing one. That moves him to 9th with that pit stop. That's not a bad effort, is it?
It's a very big effort indeed, and depending on how things pan out towards the end of the race, they're going to be lurking right there. The BMW started from 14th position on the grid. So he's muscled his way past a few.
He's a great little driver, Tony, doing a good job too.
The Golson car there, the one we saw in the pits a few moments ago, getting the go-by from the BMW M3.
Car number 7 is the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Position 16th on the road after a costly pit stop a little earlier. There's 2 very bright youngsters sharing the cockpit. Our own Neils on wheels and dual Oscar champ Brad Jones. How's it going, Bradley?
Hi, Mike.
What was the problem earlier for the pit stop?
Well, I was listening to you say how bright Neil and I were, and this bright boy hit the wall.
You're able to get in and get out fairly quickly, being such a long race. I guess being back to 16th and able to pick them up doesn't perturb you too much.
The trick is picking them up, but I let Larry by. The car was getting a bit hot behind Bondi, and what's happening here? Jesus, this is interesting.
Just talk to us when you can, don't worry.
Yeah, just a hazard of long race with a lot of cars. Actually, if you just pan left, I hit right there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a bother, isn't it? I shudder every time I come by. I let Larry by, and I just drifted out a touch wide and hit the wall, cracked a couple of rims, and a tyre went flat. So it was a pretty quick stop, and hopefully it hasn't affected our chances of a decent result. But I shouldn't imagine Cromley's doing too much smiling in the pits about now.
Car 2, Nissan, as scheduled, comes into the pits.
Okay, Peter McKay.
Thanks, Mike. It's a regular pit stop for car 2, the first of the 2 factory Nissans to pit. Gary Walden isn't getting into the car. Drew Price is going to stay there, obviously, to do an extended stint. New tyres going on and close to 120 litres of fuel. But a very smooth stop for Nissan. All Gary Walden could do during that stop was replenish Drew Price's fuel bottle.
Okay, thank you, Peter. We already have David Parsons. The number 35 car is in the pits for his pit stop.
Car 2, which we just saw in the pits, was in 6th position when it came in, rejoined the race in 14th place.
And it's all starting to happen. Word is the mobile pit are ready as well, so they're all starting to come in for the first of the scheduled stops.
So David Parsons out of the car and Wayne Park in the car now. Peter Brock in and out of the car. About to step in is Andrew Madecki.
Again, we've got Andrew Madecki jumping into the car. Brock out. Pretty furious stop. The windscreen's getting a bit of a clean-up. But again, a scheduled stop. Bit of a trouble with the seat harness with Brock helping Madecki at the moment. Glitch on the stop.
He gave it a nice...
And about $7,000 to get it off the line.
Is I was going to say the problem with the tyres, he's probably flat spotted them.
Meanwhile, dramas for number 2. It's just come in for the first of its stops, and a very slow lap trickling around. Drew Price remained in the car, and he's back in the pits 1 lap later.
Well, Freddie Gibson just a few moments ago told Peter McKay they were cruising. They're not cruising quite so well now. Jim Richards maybe, but not the 2 car.
We don't have a problem. We don't have the information what the problem may be, and Fred will be fairly selective about that until Peter is there to discuss it with him. But needless to say, the number 2 car coming back into the pits.
And we just have word from the pits, the second mobile car should be coming in very shortly as well.
Take it away, Peter.
Thanks, Mike. Fred Gibson is just discussing whatever problem the car has with driver Drew Price. There's an electric fan at the front of the car suggesting there could be an overheating problem. This is a problem with turbo cars during pit stops, and conventional wisdom has it that you put an electric fan at the front of the car just to keep everything cooled down. But once the problem's resolved, I'll grab Fred Gibson and just discover exactly what the problem is.
Yeah, stay on that one, Pete. Thank you.
While you're investigating that, Peter McKay, the third Shell Team car, car 19, has come to the pits. There's a driver change taking place there as well.
So Kane Scott is out and Greg Taylor going in. That's the Kiwi combination.
Boy, there's certainly mixing up on the circuit now. Tony Longhurst in the Benson Hedges BMW now up to 7th position. How's that, folks? 1 minute, 8 seconds. The Nissan's been in the pits. This is a tragedy for the second car.
Meantime, the Shell car's been and gone. Long gone. There it goes, in fact. Jim Richards trouble-free at the head of affairs. 12-second break at this time over the second place getter, Glenn Seaton, in the number 30 Peter Jackson Sierra. Still a comfortable cushion, but maybe not as comfortable as was expected. One car we're expecting to come in on lap 33, so that's only 2 laps away. So stand by for more hustle and bustle on pit lane.
Colin Bond rejoined the race after a 48-second stop. And the number 2 Nissan rejoined the circuit after being in the pits for 2 minutes, 14 seconds. So at this early stage in the race, the Nissan race plan has already been upset.
And Nissan crew just got bare moments to catch their breath before Jim Richards comes in. Nissan number 2 is now in 25th position.
Time for the pit stops, and here comes Wyn Percy in car number 60. John Brady, see Wyn taking the belts off already. Take it away, Johnny Brady.
Thanks very much, Mike. It's a scheduled stop. They're pretty happy with the way things are running at the moment. Alan Grice hopping inside the car now. They've been pretty happy with the way they've been able to get the car going over the last couple of days, and it seems to be running okay up there. Bar a couple of little troubles early, a bit of fender damage from that earlier mention that we had. They're just doing a bit of pedal beating up front, but they're out now, and it's a pretty quick stop. Fuel just going out, and Alan Grice back on the track.
Thank you very much, John. That was a quickie too.
That was a super duper stop. Got it at 22 seconds?
Yeah,
21 seconds,
and
yeah.
as you can see, Larry Perkins also in the pit. Win Percy 6th when he came to the pits. Grice now in the car rejoins in 11th place. Hope you can keep track of all this.
Well, it all happened so quickly. Oops. Now Thomas Mazera has stepped into Larry's car. Very talented young driver, Thomas Mazera. There's Jimmy Richards, car number 1. Is bound for the pits, and here he comes. The 2 cars still sitting in there stranded. Peter McKay is down there. Jim already slipping the belts off. Take it away, Pete.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, it's a scheduled stop. Refueling. I nearly went through on the bonnet of a Nissan, managed to escape that. No problems at all from Gary Brabham. Is that? Oh, there is a problem. There's no. There is a wheel hub rolling around the middle of pit lane, but I think it's one from the Jim Richards car.
Any problems you've been able to find out about the Drew Price number 2 car?
Mike, Fred Gibson said they couldn't find anything wrong. Drew reported the car was wandering around coming down Conrod Straight, and he made the precautionary pit stop to check on it, but the boys couldn't find anything, and Fred thinks it could be just that the tyres are cold, and he sent him back out for another check.
Richards, of course, came into the pits leading the race, handed over to Mark Scaife. He has now rejoined the event running in 4th position. And that would put the young Victorian, Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra, up into the lead, car number 30.
Reasonably slick stop that was too for the number 1 Nissan, just under 30 seconds.
Yes, Seaton leads from Mark Gibbs in the GIO Nissan GTR, followed by Dick Johnson, and then Win Percy and Tony Longhurst. Well, Longhurst now in 5th position. Obviously, he's getting the benefit of these early pit stops from the other teams.
Right now, we've got the number 4 GIO Nissan and was running
second
in 2nd spot.
2 Nissans back again.
Number 2 trickles back into the pits. There are problems. Drew Price certainly not happy with the number 2 car.
Well, it was showing as about running 22nd on the road. It's now gone in for yet another pit stop. So if this was the backup car, in case anything went wrong with the 1 car, they've got a major problem. They've run out of cars.
Now, when he first came into the pits, they were looking at the front end only. Now they're looking at all 4 corners of the car. The air jacks take it up, and there's obviously concern with the mechanical setup of the car.
Well, this is going to place even more responsibility and pressure on the shoulders of Jim Richards at the wheel of the number 1 car now.
It's been a pretty long stop from the GIO Nissan team as well.
Mark Scaife, in fact, now at the wheel of that car, but that pair.
Looks like the 10 car coming in now. Charlie O'Brien, the Alan Moffat Synovus Vitamin Sierra. Charlie stepping out of the car. And helping in Gianfranco Brancatelli.
GIO car 4 rejoined the race in 9th position, and that pad change took them just over a minute.
Peter McKay still down in the Nissan pits. What's the latest, Pete?
Well, it's all go down here in pit lane, Mike. Car 10, the Alan Moffat Synovus car, is in, looks like a conventional pit stop with Gianfranco Brancatelli taking over from Charlie O'Brien. Car 2, the Nissan backup car, is back in for more exploratory surgery. There doesn't appear to be any answers to their problems. And
see if you can get one, because at the moment we're following the pit stop of the race leader. Moffat car has rejoined, running 12th with Gianfranco Brancatelli at the wheel. And here is Glenn Seaton handing over to Greg Hansford in the Peter Jackson number 30 Ford Sierra. John Brady, our man on the spot.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Another scheduled one. All the Sierras coming in at around the 33 laps. In fact, most of the cars will, with the exception of the BMWs. Hansford straight in there. Very quick and tidy stop, this one. Very impressive. Greg Hansford back on the track.
Oh, goodness me. They're looking at everything on the 4-wheel drive transmission. Crew chief talking to Drew Price, trying to figure out exactly what the problem is.
There's a lot of shouting and toing and froing going on down there in the Nissan pit, and I don't think they're any the wiser.
Here's Freddie Gibson.
The man with the weight of Bathurst responsibility on those shoulders. And this would not be good for Freddie this early in the race.
Well, of course, with all the changes, the pit stops, that's pole vaulted Dick Johnson up to the race lead in the number 17 car. And here comes Dick Johnson up Mountain Straight. Dick's even got time to wave to all the guys. Does it quite comfortably.
Well, our pre-race information had Johnson coming in at 40 laps. That's really stretching the economy of a Ford Sierra. We're still 5 laps away from that point now, but in the Shell pits, John Bow is ready and waiting, so I imagine they'll come in a little bit earlier than that.
And after a frightful season of tailgating the Nissans and some problems with trying to make the Sierra very competitive, Queensland's favourite son now finds himself leading the great race.
He certainly has had some tough times in the Australian Touring Car Championship over the last 3 years, but his finishing record in Sierras at Bathurst is surprisingly good. He was second in 88, he won the race in 89, and one of his team cars at least was second here last year. The Johnson team are pretty well on the pace at Bathurst.
Number 2, Nissan, by the way, is back in the race. Whether they've found the problem and solved it or not, it's another matter, but it's back out there, but way, way, way down the field.
I was just mentioning the high-speed economy run that the Shell team are trying to do. I'm told that the plan is to hold the car in 5th gear as they go across the top of the mountain to reduce the revs and get the maximum economy out of the car, which is probably a good ploy, because if they can pull 2 or 3 extra laps out of the car, they'll probably get through on 3 stops, which will be a huge advantage.
Dick down to Caltex Chase.
Car 2 Nissan has rejoined the race back in position 30, so they dumped an awful lot of time.
Race leader Dick Johnson heads towards the pits on lap number 38 of 161, about ready to hand over to John Bow. They've been rehearsing a lot of pit stops here at Mount Panorama during the week, the Johnson team. In he comes. Belts are already undone. Johnson out of the car. John Bow steps straight in.
Prima Holidays pit report. There's no holiday though for John Bow. He's earning his money today.
Certainly is today. Topping it up with gas. Fresh rubber. Dunlop's all round for the number 17 car.
Been in the pits for 20 seconds. The arms are up. Just wait for the refueling, which is usually the slowest part of these stops. Johnson still plugging Bow in. Bow on the ground and out in 30 seconds. A good stop from the Shell team.
But that means they've surrendered the lead to car number 1, Mark Scaife, the Nissan GTR, back in front. Johnson, as I said, was the race leader, and with Bow now at the wheel, rejoins in 4th place. Richards leads the race, or Scaife leads the race, by 22 seconds from car 30, Glenn Seaton Sierra, followed by Tony Longhurst in 3rd place.
I see one parked up there on the inside on the approach to the cutting. There's the Ray Lintott, John English, Val Valine Sierra.
Tony Longhurst has not been in for a change. Car 25, the BMW, he holds down 3rd spot. 4th position, car 17, John Bow now at the wheel. I'm about to change what I just said because Brad Jones is coming in. He'll get out. Neil Crompton will get in. So Tony Longhurst will be the only driver in the top 10 not to have swapped over.
Cameron Williams is our man on the spot. Cam?
Yes, Brad Jones has just got out of the Holden car and Neil Crompton has just taken the seat. He's a little bit concerned that they've been pushed down the order for this routine stop because of that early stop they had on lap 4 when they clipped the wall going up through Caltex Chase. But he said the car's running very smoothly and they're quite satisfied with the race at this stage.
Out of there.
Let's see if Neil can hear us again. Can you hear us, Crompton?
Hello, is someone speaking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Oh, hello, boss. How's it going?
Not too bad, son.
Is that check in the mail?
It is, and we love you.
How's it going over there?
Bradley Jones handed the car over. I won't ask you how it feels because it's a familiar lap for you. But you've crept up into the top 10, and he said the car felt reasonably good.
Old Beast feels all right, although he's done a bit of a job on the wheel alignment. Thanks, Brado. Yeah, it all feels okay. It's good to have a steer. I hate standing around. We'll get past this smouldering you-know-what. These blokes have been an accident going somewhere to happen all week. And there it is again. Holden power. Yeah, so everything's looks and feels all right. All the numbers are really smart in the car at the moment, Mike.
Neil,
and hopefully we can settle into a reasonable routine here.
Neil, the Nissan race times have been like 2:17s, 2:18s. Does that surprise you?
No, not at all. Nissan's a bigger tennis racket, isn't it?
Here we are. The Benson Hedges BMW, the critical stop.
Okay, let's take it away, Cameron Williams.
Yes, Alan Jones about to take over from Tony Longhurst here with the BMW. Although there was a lot of pre-race speculation that they'd pit a lot later than this, the team is saying that this is exactly to plan, and they're very happy with the operation of the entire unit at this stage. But it does take a little bit away from the pre-race predictions that the BMWs will stay on the track for a lot longer than they have.
Fairly orderly stop there, Cameron. Jones is in the car. He's a little beefier than Tony Longhurst.
Yes, he needs his own seat. He's got the special Recaro outfit there that's custom made for the former world champion.
Well, I tell you what, if Longhurst has given the car a caning for the opening 40 laps, you can expect Jones to be able to step it up a notch or two as well, because he can drive all day at the same pace.
I came in one lap earlier than what I was supposed to, but as I was going up the straight, you start to get very conscious of the gauges, and I thought I saw the fuel pressure gauge move. I thought the other car was going to come in about lap 42 or 43. So the boys should have had a bit of a breather, but anyhow.
It looks like the product car has gone into the wall, or the tyre wall at the top of the mountain. Let's have a look at this with our Prima Holiday replay. 33. Oh, dearie me. He's launched that. That's the Pearson Stewart car. Bob Pearson.
Bruce Stewart.
And veteran Bruce Stewart, who's been here for a number of years.
What a shame.
And that has really tweaked the front and the rear of the car.
05, the Peter Brock Mobile Commodore is in trouble. Andrew Medecky at the wheel. He's stopped on the climb up toward the cutting.
He's got nothing going there.
No. That 5-litre V8 is dead as a doornail. Medecky's unplugging. There's obviously nothing he can do up there. So, the man they call the Mountain Master has had yet another tragic Bathurst.
We have no fuel pressure. I've been giving it a break, and the 15 seconds doesn't help. What do you want me to do next?
Andrew taking instructions from the pits.
Already tried. Yes, no fuel pressure.
And there's the Peter Brock. And with him, Peter McKay.
Thanks very much. Peter Brock, a rather bemused Peter Brock watching proceedings on television. Your car looks like it has a fuel pressure problem, Pete.
Yes, well, that would probably be straight out of an electrical connection, I'd imagine. And at the moment, it's quite interesting to stand here listening to Andrew explaining on television he's got no fuel pressure, and we're going through a test procedure with him to try the reserves and everything else, but he's done that. I don't know what he can do at the moment. It's great to see.
Larry Perkins, the engineer of the two mobile cars. They are talking to Medecky in the car. Perkins asking what is wrong.
John Heckworth, one of the team technicians there, trying to talk with Medecky and see if he can get the car mobile again. Very disappointed Peter Brock in the background. Number 2 Nissan back in the pits. And the bonnet's up this time.
Yes, the point here is that the problem doesn't seem to be serious, and it's just very bad luck, and obviously pulls this car anyway out of contention.
Yes, it puts a lot of pressure on the one car to run fault-free for the rest of the day.
It's astonishing that the team has had such a perfect week, and yet come race day, these problems can arise.
On lap 59 rather, of the great race, Alan Grice at the wheel of the 16 Holden team car, just slipping by one of the Synovus Alan Moffat entries, and flying.
After Win Percy's spin earlier on, that car's now been hauled back up through the field, and that's the Sala Lusty car. Another Sierra that's lost a wheel by the looks of things.
Well, they've had considerable problems with this car today. They had turbo damage earlier that kept them in the pits for a considerable while. Shuffled them right back to the back of the field, and they're in serious problem. Can't see until they come around the next curve what the problem is. Front right, by the look of it, it's either missing altogether or very... it's missing altogether, all right.
Oh, there's doing some damage there. Lower ball joint on the suspension being ground away. And they might have troubles when they get back into the pits. There'll be a lot of work there.
As into the pits comes the 18 car.
Radicic getting out of the car.
Terry Shield steps in. Regulation stop. Currently running in 5th position. Everything running like clockwork at this stage. Regulation 4 tyre stop.
John Brady's on the spot.
Yeah, and it is a regulation stop. It looks like everything going completely to plan at the moment. Just waiting on fuel. Everything else is set. Neil Lowe's getting the hands up, and that'll be a fairly quick stop. They'll be happy with that one.
Meantime, John Brady, we've got a shot here from race cam of Andrew Miedeke working on the 05 Brock car, all on his own. Still parked at the side of the circuit, trying to figure out what the problem is with this car and try and get it back up and running, because the laps are ticking away and it's becoming almost an impossible task. Lost another one.
Now that might be the same car. You get a look at it side on. If it's 44, it's dumped another wheel. 43.
Sister car.
The team car. So there's 3 Sierras have lost the left front wheel. Sorry, is that the left front?
That's the right front.
The right front,
yeah.
Sorry. And left and right hand drive cars, very confusing.
So another one did know what the right hand was doing.
Another one will limp down the hill.
Well, wretched luck for Brian Bolwell, who took a big gamble and put up the money to take over these 2 former Tony Longhurst Sierra. Oh, that sets your teeth on edge, doesn't it? It'll set a few other people's teeth on edge too if they come on him very suddenly down this part of the circuit.
There's problems for the Neil Crompton. Bradley Jones, number 7 Holden Racing Team Commodore. Crompton had taken the car up to 9th on the road. He's had a shunt somewhere around the circuit. They've hit it with the 100 mile an hour tape, the silver tape. They're trying to make sure that there's nothing damaged. Crompton decided to bring the car in just at the same time. That's our bumper cam sitting out the front, giving you the best view. The other good news is Andrew Miedeke has passed the TAFE course and has the 05 car back and mobile, or limping anyway towards the pits. Nissan number 1 car, Jim Richards, pitted and rejoined the race, still in the lead, so they have not dropped the lead away.
Neil Crompton sitting in the car anxiously waiting as they try to repair the damage. Crompton, what happened?
The old boy got sideways coming into the pit straight in a fairly big way. We were tangled up in a scrap with John Bow and Greg Hansford. Gricey had virtually a spin. I ducked to the inside to miss him, but gave him a Liberace.
Oh, well, it's done a fair amount of damage.
No kidding.
We're looking at our Prima Holidays replay here. This was what happened when the car first came into the pits. And any method, fair or foul, to get things back in place and get it back up and running again, it can't happen quickly enough for Neil Crompton.
No, that is unfortunate. There's nothing he can do. He can just sit there and wait. Still working to try and get the aerodynamics right. At the moment, it has about the same aerodynamic lift as a brick wall.
Well, they've got to get it bent back into a reasonable enough shape to satisfy the stewards and not cop a black flag and have to keep coming back to the pit area. They've been in there for nearly 4 minutes. 11 also, and crawling into the pits. Oh, this is bad news.
Well, that's Thomas Mazera coming in to hand over to Larry Perkins. Cameron Williams is our man on the spot.
Yes, Mike, this is just a routine change, although it's a fairly full-on one. They're doing plugs, brakes, tyres, just about everything, even the driver, as you mentioned. The team's quite happy with the way things are proceeding, although there's a little bit of dispute here between the drivers.
I'll tell you what it is. It's Larry Perkins, who's an engineer. Tommy Mazera brought the car in very coolly, and Perkins wanted his attention, said, "What's wrong?" And he couldn't get the answer he wanted. And when you got trouble, there's double trouble. The 05, that has stalled on the entrance to the pits.
Now, where does the outside assistance put him in terms of...
They've got to get him out of the way there.
Yeah, that's true.
11, the Perkins Mazera car was up to 5th. I'll tell you what, if it... Poor old Andrew Miedeke, if the thing only runs 100 metres at a time, he's going to need 5 guys to run with him for the rest of the race. And this, of course, presents the next problem with Larry Perkins, the Mazira car, number 11, and the 05 car tucked in behind it. In the meantime, the 1 car with Scaife at the wheel to the top of the mountain.
John Bow still in second place in car 17. Greg Hansford, car 30, holding down third, but we understand about the pit. We also understand Alan Grice in car 16 is on his way to the pits. He was in fourth, or is in fourth place at the moment.
Well, we've had the teams with 3 teams so far with 2 cars in the pits at the same time. Let's go to John Brady.
Yes, thanks, Mike. We've got the car that Neil Crompton had the kiss with, and it's, of course, Alan Grice changing over for Win Percy. There's a bit of damage on the back left-hand side of the bumper. Thankfully, not enough to do a lot of damage there. So they're just going through a change now. They're going to do the brakes as they go through. But it's been a very bad day for Holden, or bad lap, that one for Holden, as you can imagine. One car running into the other. They've just cut the engine here, which could start to be a bit disconcerting. They were expecting to get through this a little quicker than they've done. They have reported no problems with the car, but things are just starting to slow here a fraction. Pads just in on the front wheels, about to go on. Now they're back in action and ready to go away. A little longer than they would have expected, and that little bit of damage at the back is going to probably annoy them for the day, but not cause too much trouble.
That's what you call quick servicing. Now, fortunately, we're able to ISO most of the incidents that happen around the circuit. Here's Neil Crompton, the 7 car. And that's what happened. As you can see, the Grice car was around sideways. He was able to try and pull out of harm's way, but managed to clip the tail of the car. I was just thinking, John, you wouldn't want to be sitting there at the team debrief tonight. There'll be some solid chat.
It certainly would be. A lot of soul searching.
05 back on the road and running again. Meantime, while all that activity was going on, the 30 Seaton car came in. Hansford got out, Seaton got in, and they were on their way with a lightning stop. Came in running in third place, rejoined in third spot, so they've lost nothing in that little stop.
There's Thomas Mazira that we saw climb out of the Perkins 11 car. And
it's been a very interesting day. The car started off beautifully, and Andrew's had an electronic gremlin in the car, and through persistence he's actually got the thing going again, and arrived in here as Thomas was in to do a planned pit stop. And as he arrived, he said, the engine's got a problem. It's got, I think they dropped the valve in it. And so we sent Andrew back out to soldier on. I guess this will be sort of pushed to one side. This was our big hope, of course. But and I'll hop back into 05 and see if I can finish somewhere respectable through the day. But gee, electronics, a bit of a strange one. Okay.
Certainly is. I'd like to know who's supplying the wheels and tyres for car 44, because I think at last count it's been through 3 of them.
That's right, and both team cars have lost a wheel. 05, by the way, Peter Brock's car is now in 33rd place with Andrew Miedeke at the wheel. Car 4, the GIO Nissan, currently running in 6th position, is due in 2 laps for fuel, tyres and a driver change. So here is the race leader, hard on the heels of the Synovus Moffat entry, car 10. Gianfranco Brancatelli at the wheel of the leader of those 2 cars. The race leader, of course, is the car behind. And Mark Scaife, the man who picked up $15,000 for winning pole position here for this race. Car 10, by the way, is in 9th place and about to be lapped by Scaife.
They're an awesome machine, John, the GTR.
They are. They're awesome. It's just to see whether they've got the endurance to last the distance here.
Well, the 11 car is going behind the pit wall. Larry Perkins, Thomas Mazira. That challenge is over. Oh, now we have the Mark Gibbs, Rowan Onslow GIO Nissan.
Scheduled stop.
Was running in the top 6.
Clock's running on this one. Fuel, tyres and driver change. Mark Gibbs coming out of the car. And Rowan Onslow going in. He's had a long stint in that car, Mark Gibbs. Car 78 now on screen in the 1600cc category.
Jeffrey Full, and you can see the speed difference there between the outright cars. Sometimes it's a fairly thankless task for the guys who steer the the smaller cars around. They're blamed for being in everyone else's row, but they're trying to race each other in their own class, a race within a race. And they spend half the time looking forward and half the time in the mirrors.
Yes, ducking from what's coming from behind. Probably some very good racing back there, though.
It is very competitive.
Yeah.
They've been running at 10/10 all day, 78.
Yes, we talked about being in for the long haul and back in this category. Of course, we've got Bob Holden and Renaud Altonen, who won the race here 25 years ago in a Mini, still campaigning, this time in a Corolla. They're in 24th place.
It's good to see.
Unusual sight. I remember some years ago with Doug Chivers having to push his car into the pits, and at that stage it was all uphill. There's race cam with the Nissan boys waving goodbye to Dick. Whether or not he'll drop in behind. Still trying to reach the pits.
The Peter Verheyen, John Vernon Corolla there.
And problems here by the look of it for John Smith and Morgan with the Mercantile Mutual Supra that has got off by the look of it at Murray's Corner and has the front of it sticking in the wall down there. Whether he's been able to pull it up before hitting the wall or whether she has been shortened up, we might get from another view.
Doesn't look so super anymore, does it?
No. Tried to pull it out. This is what happened. Straight off, he's pulled the front of it around. No, and was able to stop it. Good driving. Good to see Johnny Smith back here at Bathurst with the Supra attempt. He's put a lot of money, a lot of effort into it, and so too Mercantile Mutual. The Supra was running 17. Now that is a good result at this time of the day.
As car 9, second Moffat Sierra swings up the hill.
Just giving Gary Wilmington the go-by in 41 Toyota Supra, and just behind him comes Peter Fitzgerald, car 9, as I said, in 9th position.
So that's the 2 Moffat Sierras in the top 10.
Yeah.
I don't think Alan will be too upset by that at that stage, gauging by the conservative race setup they've had all week up here. Gary Brabham being drafted into the 9 car. It was originally supposed to be the 2 Brabham boys, Gary and his brother Jeff. But Jeff had an unfortunate accident testing his Nissan car in the States. Had to withdraw only a few weeks from the event, and they drafted in Steve Millen. Gary Brabham has risen to the highest levels in motorsport at one stage, had a Formula 1 drive with the Life racing team.
There wasn't much life in the Life racing team, was there?
There wasn't really a Formula 1 team. They had enough trouble just getting the car to the circuit, let alone getting it to qualify. Hello.
Problems for Longhurst Alan Jones, the BMW number 25 car.
Now this is very surprising. The bulletproof BMWs. Alan Jones at the wheel.
There are other cars in as well. This is a regular scheduled pit stop here. Peter Fitzgerald out of the car. Denny Hulme in. Tyre change. Fuel. But the big news concerns not this car, but the stablemate, the 25 car.
They've got a wheel coming off.
Was it a wheel coming off, or he might have a puncture? That tyre looked to be a little bit down as he went up the mountain.
Longhurst was in 5th place.
Here goes the tyre.
He's about to lose it. The 20 car was in 10th place.
I've seen Dick Johnson in a similar situation in his Mustang several years ago, and he managed to hold it all together, well, Larry Perkins at the wheel at the time, and bring it down the mountain safely. But there's no guarantees here. That tyre is going to get shredded very badly by the time he's down toward the pits.
Oh. Car 20 has left the pits with Denny Hulme at the wheel.
That is a rotten piece of luck for BMW, running so strongly at 3rd position at one stage.
Caltech's race score at the present time with the number 1 Nissan still piloting the field in the Tooheys 1000, 2nd place in the open category, Seaton and Hansford in the Peter Jackson Sierra, and car 17 Johnson and Bow, the Shell Racing Sierra, in 3rd spot. 3-litre category still led by Longhurst and Jones, despite the loose wheel from Tony. Fitzgerald and Hulme, the teammates, in 2nd place, and Cotter and Dillman, big effort there, still running 3rd in the 3-litre category. In the 1600cc class, Full and Morris still leading. Forshaw and Vorst have moved up in that category to 2nd position, and Searle and Griffiths holding down 3rd spot. Just made it. Just.
And this is the critical thing for the BMW team. If this tyre's done any damage under there, they'll drop a heap of time.
Dropped a couple of places crawling to the pits from 5th down to 7th when he came in.
That's time they can't afford to lose. The race strategy for this car was to go absolutely flat chat with one hiccup.
Okay, fresh rubber on.
Meanwhile, Tony Longhurst has stepped in to replace Alan Jones. The car's been in the pits for 40 seconds and out in 44. So
it's pretty flash, isn't it? Last year's winners. Regulation stopped by the look of it. Clock ticking. Crew working furiously. Tyre change. Fuel in. Quick stop indeed. Good stop. Go, go, go. Pitted in third position, rejoined the race in fourth position.
And a stop of 27.31 seconds. That is a ripper.
Big effort.
And the
Alf and Tim Grant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, father and son combo, Alf and Tim Grant from Brisbane. Running 17th on the road. What a marvellous experience it must be for a dad and his lad to come to Mount Panorama.
Yeah, a car of great historical significance. This thing was largely involved in Nissan's first touring car championship victory. It soldiered on against the Sierras and the Commodores at a time when it wasn't really competitive, but still managed to score a couple of wins with Jim Richards at the wheel before they moved on to the all-conquering GTR. So certainly Nissan's second most successful touring car, and it's been passed on to the hands of the Grant chappies, and it's going very well too.
Just sitting back there behind the 17 car of Dick Johnson. Oh, look at all this traffic. Got a, no. How much was... We're planning on taking a race cam cross, but I'm not quite sure.
Well, at least the Sierra, yeah, Dick gives him a wave and says, thanks, the Sierra knew that he was there. I don't think that the Corolla did.
Conrod Straight, Dickie Johnson. You're killing him, son.
Mate, I can sort of kind of hear you. It's not all that good, the reception, Mike, but we're just pressing on regardless.
Well, that must give you some heart after a pretty wretched season in the Touring Car Championship. You found all that consistency on one day.
Well, we had so much drama in the lead up to this race you wouldn't believe. And thank heavens we found what the problem was prior to the race, prior to qualifying, because it was a fairly serious sort of a problem, which was, you know, as you know, electrical, that we had interference in our computer and it was blowing engines for us, which is not a nice thought. And there's Crompton's car stopped on the side of the road.
Whoops.
Yes, Neil Crompton, Brad Jones, number 7, the second of the HRT team cars, getting pushed to the side of the road.
Bond rejoins the race in 10th position, dropped 2 spots there on the changeover.
What happened, son?
We're out of gas, very high-tech problem. Switched the reserve on as we came up pit straight, and that was the first indication of the car coughing, and she only made it to the cutting.
Hasn't been the best of races, has it?
You have to keep grinning though, don't you?
Yes, grin and bear it. You were running 12th on the road. Park it safely and walk back. Commiserations, that was a good drive considering the problems you had in the opening laps.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I tried very hard. Obviously, it was unfortunate to get tangled up with the Gricey thing, but that's showbiz. And the car settled down quite nicely once again, and I drove quite hard as I dare, given that it's had an additional wheel alignment thanks to me and Brad. And, you know, we were able to hang in there with Dick and sort of split up Dick and Winnie. But anyway, next year we'll do a better job.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you. Bye.
Brad Jones we just saw in the Holden team pit. I think we might try a little communications trickery. Brad, you got a headset on there?
Yes, can you hear me all right, Wilco?
Yes, mate, got you fine, loud and clear. Crompton sitting up the top there in the car, very disconsolate, obviously, as you are. You want to have a chat to him?
Well, I might as well. I haven't got much else to do here at the moment.
Neil?
G'day, mate.
How are you, Cromley?
All right, what's happening down there? Can you make some salad sandwiches for me, please?
Yeah, we've got them on the boil here. What have you done to my car?
We've run out of gas, mate.
Oh, well.
It's not over yet, because I'm going to try and get the nose of the thing downhill so the pumps can pick up. And then select reverse and smoke the bags, basically.
Back it across the top.
Yeah.
Wasn't going too bad, was it?
Well, no, we were kicking a few goals, considering the handicap we got off to at the start of the day.
Yeah, with you in the car.
Yeah, and then you.
Sorry,
Thank
mate.
you, Cromley.
Listen, I'm going to make a horrible noise here for a minute, so go away and have a chat to Wilco about his hairdo or something.
Yeah, thanks. See you, Cromley.
Thank you, Crompton. You'll get yours, son. Four's in as well. The GIO Nissan GTR.
Looks like he's hit something, whether a rock's hit the headlight or something, but there's damage on the front of the car. And this is the pad change for the GIO machine.
Driver change, Rowan Onslow out of the car, Mark Gibbs back in. They've had a relatively trouble-free run all day. They were looking strong in 5th position when they came in for this stop. Yeah, they're giving something a nudge.
Fortunately, it just looks like a nudge and nothing more. Hopefully no damage inside the engine bay there. Well, they've got it all strapped up with race tapes. That'll hold it together. Otherwise, a reasonably slick stop.
Car 19 here is in 35th position. Grice is in 3rd position. Let's hope, yes, he does the decent thing and gives him right away as they line up on the straight.
There's Gricey, 49 years of age. Doesn't everyone live in Queensland?
Yep.
Career highlights: Australian Sports Sedan Champ 78-79 on the Amscar Touring Car Series in 82, and of course the Tui's 1000 in 86 and 90, a dual winner. Then backed up to win the James Hardy 12-hour race here at Easter. Did very, very well, so he's had 3 major endurance wins here at Mount Panorama. Colin Bond, car number 8, the Caltech Sierra. This is a replay of exactly what happened or what led to the pit stop. Have a look. Bang. Dearie me, he recovered that well. Just got wide. Coming out of Tui's turn. Went into the pits. Now back on the racetrack running 12th. We pick him up coming over the skyline through the 2WS sweeper. A Corolla separating he and Greg Hansford. Hansford in the 30 car. 73 is of course the car we've been talking about during the day. The 2 veterans, Bob Holden and Rano Altonen. When you put 2 past masters and all that experience together into a small car class, you've got to go somewhere. And I'd say they're enjoying reliving the good old days today.
Yes, these guys go down in Bathurst history. They ran the little Morris Cooper S's here in 1966 when those little BMC machines dominated the race. 25 years ago that victory was, and they've teamed up again today. Mind you, they're still active on the racing scene. Rano Walton, he's 53 years of age. Works as a senior instructor for BMW Advanced Driving Safety, and also, little lock of the brake, teaches the German police advanced driving as well. Also competed in the Spa 24-hour race, I think, as late as last year, Richard.
Yeah, he's actually better known really for his rallying exploits, more so than his racing. But he was quite a rally driver in his day, especially in the Little Minis.
It looks like a driver change. John Bauer, rent a body. Well, here comes Dick Johnson, ready to come into pit lane, getting ready. You'll notice when he straightens the car up, the belts will come off on the run-up pit lane now. There you go. Belts are released.
Dick Johnson coming in 2 laps ahead of schedule. And John Brady's on the scene.
Yeah, thanks very much. Dick in, as you say, 2 laps ahead. The reason is that spongy brake pedal he talked about. They've already changed the pads on this car once. Now, they had them on standby if they thought they'd get any help out of changing them again. They've obviously decided not to. The problem's in the hydraulics. They're going to try and run with that, get by on the spongy pedal. It's still working enough. The interesting thing is, as was mentioned about the splash and dash, they've now worked out they will need 1 more stop at the end of this race. It will be a 10-litre stop of petrol. That's all they'll need to stick in the car. It will be a very, very quick one. So if all goes well according to this one, and it looks like doing just that, in fact, it's done very, very well indeed for this change for them. If this spongy brake pedal holds out, they will have 1 very, very quick pit stop left.
Thank you, John. Johnson pitted while running second. John Bauer into the car. They rejoined the race in 3rd place. The Tui's 1000 continues in one direction, while car number 19 is the Kane Scott Dick Johnson, or ex-Dick Johnson car, on lap 120 of 161, is obviously run through with problems and trying to park in safety. In the meantime, no, Neil Crompton isn't just sitting there doing nothing. I believe you've been busy in the last couple of minutes.
I've had a bit of a sprint down to the bottom, caught a utility, caught a chopper, got some fuel, caught a chopper again, caught another utility, had a sprint back up the hill. But now someone's unfolded a rule book and they say I'll be charged if I drive out onto the circuit. All I really wanted to do, Mike, was put the car back down the bottom of the pit lane, but they've dusted off rule 4,437 that says you can't do that. In fact, what I wouldn't mind doing is having our blokes double check and see what the story is of that.
Here's the Nissan number 1.
The car in first place comes in for another scheduled stop, and by the sound of that air gun, they're hammering away on that front wheel nut, doesn't seem to be coming loose.
I've been on that one for a while.
Back one's okay. They're still going. Well, there's problems here.
Oh, there it goes.
So, new wheels and tyres on. A little bit of oil leaking out there out of the, looks like the hydraulic floor jack. Shouldn't affect the running of the car at all. But the engine's fired. Back down on the ground. 40 seconds.
So it's out. Let's go down to Wally Story. Wally, you're having some trouble trying to get the car back.
Yes, Mike, the problem was everybody was in the flap and everybody was getting pretty keen to get the car back down here, not realising, nobody gave it a thought that you're not allowed to replenish out of the pits. The thing we're concerned about is after the race, somebody's going to jump the fence and start pilfering this thing, which is worth just a little more than 2 shillings.
No, I understand that. We checked, and that was the word that we got from Tim Schenk and Alan Horsley confirmed that for us. You can't get outside assistance. I know it'd be nice to get rid of some of the cars from up there. There's a couple of other guys sharing a similar view, I would think.
Yeah, well, the mistake we've made really is I didn't go up and talk to Tim and explain my situation, so we've made a pretty bad error there. But anyway, we can't go back on that now.
Well, so what have you got to do? I guess let's see if we can put you in contact with Neil Crompton, and then you can explain it to Neil. He can be frustrated, but at least he'll know. He'll know. You there, Neil?
Yes, I am. Hi, guys.
Talk to Wally.
Okay, well, what's happening?
Well, in the middle of me organising with you to send up some fuel, in the middle of it all there, we haven't actually been within the rules to do that, and the concern about the car being pilfered, unfortunately, is overridden by the fact that it's just illegal in the race regulations to do it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just go down to Quarry Road to where our OB van is down there. It'll be safe down there, so I'll have a wander down there and I'll come down and see you shortly.
Thank you, gentlemen. I hope we've been happy to resolve some of the problems for you.
Oh, that's fine. Thanks for that, Mike.
Okay, buddy.
That's
great. No worries, Mike. Thanks very
much.
much.
After that pit stop, Nissan rejoined in first place, but we've got problems for the 17 car, John Bow.
Oh, dear. Smoke pouring from the front left-hand wheel.
That's looking fairly terminal. And that's looking even worse.
Yep, the Seaton car was coughing and spluttering its way out, and it hasn't even made it out of pit lane. I can see the Peter Jackson pit crew running up the end of the pit lane to pull it back. Oh, look at this. Smoke pouring out the inside of the cockpit of the 17 car. John Bow getting covered in smoke and fumes. The wheels shaking, obviously a problem on the front left-hand corner of the car. But he's only a couple of 100 metres from pit lane, so he should make it back. Well, that's quite a barbecue in the 17 car. Meanwhile, car 18 comes in.
This is going to be good when 17 arrives.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 Shell Sierras, or one of them at least, not on a scheduled stop. And Johnson's recent bad luck continues. 1991 has not been his year.
Well, there's even bigger problems. The Johnson car is coming back, and they're pushing the Peter Jackson car back at the same time down pit lane.
So 3 Sierras there in trouble. Well, the 18 car apparently is running okay still. And it's off the jacks and out in just under 40 seconds. So 18 is still running to schedule as far as the Shell team's concerned. But car 17 there, John Bow, the engine's still idling. And he wants to know what the problem is before he gets out of the car.
Meanwhile, the 30 car is back. They couldn't get it to form. Let's go down to the Shell pits and John Brady.
Yeah, we've Neil Lowe is still trying to find out from John Bow just what the worry is at the moment. A lot of smoke coming out from this engine. They've just cut it now. It looks like they've got some fairly deep problems. John Bow getting out of the car, and all of that doesn't point to anything particularly good at all.
Well,
it does not look good at all at the moment for the Dick Johnson team. The car that is reporting a couple of troubles this race has now picked up a couple of more serious ones, I think, under the bonnet.
Well, Bow was third. Looks like he's done.
I just asked what the problem was, Neil Lowe, the manager, and he's just shrugged his shoulders. The one thing that is certain is it's a very serious one, and it looks like that could easily be the end of it, I think.
I'd say it is.
At least as far as winning the race is concerned.
Well, they finally fired up the Glenn Seaton car.
Well, actually, the car sounds quite sweet as it heads up pit lane, so perhaps they have cured that misfire problem. And we're inside 05 as it heads up the hill. They're in 18th position, so they too are slowly clawing their way back through the field.
Glenn Seaton in the car. Now he'll rejoin in 11th spot on the racetrack. I think we'll have a word with John Bow in just a second, as soon as John Brady can get himself into position there. I don't know what the problem was here. They left it out. If it was just a plug, to lose all that ground just for the sake of not coming in earlier. But quite obviously, Barry Seaton might be able to fill us in on that, what the problem was. I don't know how they frown about pushing the car backwards down pit lane.
We'll no doubt hear about something like that in about half an hour's time, but that's the tradition of this race. You can turn up here with a $200,000 or $300,000 race car, and a $1 or $2 part can let you down. Anyway, the Seaton car...
I think he might have its misfire back again, actually.
I was just about to say that, Richard. It certainly sounds like it, doesn't it?
Time for a chat with the two Johns. Let's go down to Mr. Brady first.
Yes, thanks, Mike. The other one, the JB's the man at the moment. John, what's happened? It doesn't look good.
Well, I was on sort of 3.5 cylinders when I went out of the pits, and then it came good, so I turned the boost down as low as it'd go, and then it started to smoke, so it's obviously sprung an oil leak somewhere. It's run out of oil.
You obviously lost power at the start, but it looked like it was starting to come good. I suppose, how nervous were you when you were testing it out then?
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I was just trying to nurse it along, but I didn't really know what was wrong with it. Then the smoke got worse, so I don't really know, but it's obviously dumped its oil, and then the oil pressure light came on at the top of the mountain. When it does that, it starves the turbo, so it's obviously the death rate.
Talking about great races, one is being run here by Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow in the Bob Forbes GIO Nissan GTR. The people that flew off the front of the grid and led the race in the early couple of laps dropped back to 8th, 9th spot, but then gradually have worked their way back through the field, now running third and running strong. Mark Gibbs, former live wire in production car racing, and you can see the production car results that he's had there. A real hard charger, very aggressive driver, but he's tempered that in recent years, probably under the tutelage of Bob Forbes, and has really turned into an excellent man to have behind the wheel in this category of racing. 34 years of age, comes from Sydney, and really knows what it's all about. Winner of the Sandown 500 just a couple of weeks back, and what a boost that would have been coming into a race like the Tooheys 1000.
Not only a boost to the GIO team, but also a boost to all Nissan runners, because it certainly dispelled a lot of the mistrust people had about the Nissan in endurance form, and certainly the Spa 24-hour result made them look very strong.
Clerk of the course has asked us if we can give him a shot of a car that's stuck up against the wall at the exit to the Dipper, car 77. You can see it there. I think they want to have a look at it from this angle to make a determination whether or not it is safely there, or whether or not they'll have to bring out the yellow flags and maybe a pace car. 77, Forshaw and Vorst doing well in the 1600cc category until this mishap occurred. Didn't spot exactly what it was. Doesn't look to be any major damage, at least not on this side of the car. Can't tell on the other side, of course.
Well, pace car would certainly make a critical difference to this race. Bryce has dropped a lap on Richards now. Now, there's only one pace car in operation this year, so he would effectively be able to pick up almost a lap on the lead car, and that would certainly bunch everything up again.
Well, the experienced eye of Tim Schenken has certainly taken in all of this from our 7 chopper, and I guess he'll make a decision in that regard very, very shortly. Now back on track with the Synovus entry, Alan Moffat, car 10. This is the car with Gianfranco Brancatelli at the wheel at the moment, car that he's sharing with Charlie O'Brien and running in 4th place and catching the GIO Nissan at the present time. So a battle looming here for third position.
Word is from the pits that Tony Longhurst is due to pit very soon. Alan Jones will get into the car. Also, another interesting tidbit of information, the fastest lap of the race has been posted on lap 120 by Drew Price in the number 2 Nissan. That dominance for you. Now listen to this, 2 minutes 15.14 seconds. And that is flying.
He's got a lot of ground to make up.
Well, he's got nothing to lose. There's the Moffat car in the pits.
Driver change here, Steve Millen getting out of the car and Gary Brabham getting back in.
Moffat crew well drilled. Brabham gets in for his stint, and they're changing front pads, having a look under the engine to make sure everything's okay there. This little turbo Ford has run without problems all day. And there's his teammate, Gianfranco Brancatelli, the Italian import. Moffat likes bringing in experienced overseas drivers, and this guy's one of the best, 41 years of age. Little Italian has quite a record behind him, particularly in endurance racing. Was the 1985 European touring car champion.
And he's driven just about every make of touring car you can imagine, I think, over the years. Also drove in the World Sports Car Championship for Nissan. The most notable thing he did there, he won't thank me for telling you this, but was at Le Mans, where, while in the lead of the race, he collided with Aguri Suzuki, who was in a Toyota at the time, and put the lead Nissan out.
He's certainly got a reputation as a wild man, but he's also very quick, and that's what people want.
Heading up Mountain Straight.
Well,
towards BP, I saw that.
Engine gone in 9.
We're only just saying, it's amazing. That was not a Channel 7 voodoo, but we're just saying how well the Millen Brabham car was going. One of the Moffat Sierras, and here it is limping up the mountain with smoke belching from the exhaust.
Coming down the Conrad Straight the last time before I came in the pits, it just got really soft and I could smell some oil and so on, which is an indication that the turbochargers failed.
Yep. Well, it's desperately bad luck for you guys. You've put on a great act so far this week with both cars. First time at Bathurst. Yeah. What are your reflections on the race?
It's a fantastic event. I'm really impressed with the facility and the professionalism, the organisation of the place, and the preparation of the cars. Alan Moffat's given us a really good car, but it's just really great to be here. It's a race I've always wanted to do, and I hope I can come back.
After a lengthy deliberation, they've allowed Neil to drive back to the bottom of the circuit.
I don't think Neil can hear us at this stage, and he's certainly busy there waving the cars past and trying to stay off the racing line, which is the right thing to do. And it's been a pretty sad day for Cromley and Brad Jones. They certainly had high hopes for this race, and another sad day for this car, the Synovus Sierra of Alan Moffat.
The stablemate, the 10 car with Brancatelli at the wheel, still out on the track in 4th place, only 16 seconds behind the 3rd place getter. The GIO entry with Mark Gibbs. Well, that's the way it is. Jim Richards continues to lead. Alan Grice 2nd, Mark Gibbs in 3rd place in the great race.
Pit stop there for the number 25 Longhurst car. Pitted while running in 5th spot and has rejoined in the same, so he has not dropped through that pit stop.
Quick driver change there, effected with the usual efficiency by the Longhurst crew, and they're coming up on another of the M3s, the Cotter Dulman car, class winners here in fact in this category 2 years ago.
Yep.
And running very strongly, 3rd in the class this year behind the 2 Longhurst entries.
Alan Jones up the hill in the little M3, Evolution 2, and what a fabulous little car it is. 4-cylinder, 2.5 litre twin cam fuel injected, 5-speed gearbox, massive brakes for its size, 10-inch wide tyres, which is the same as Sierra, but it's got a lot less power, 350 brake horsepower for 960 kilos. A dynamic little package, and an excellent power to weight ratio too of 3.3 kilograms per kilowatt. Very hard lugging this car up the hill, as opposed to the big 500 and 600 horsepower cars, but it's quick and consistent, and that was a little bit of bad luck when they got that flat tyre, because up till then they've been looking very strong.
Take it away, John Harvey.
It's looking pretty good. A very, very quick stop, and off goes the final stop of the race. There was no problems at all that Mike.
23 seconds, that's a pretty quick pit stop. They've been spot on with their stops today. Percy rejoins, still in 2nd spot. Lap number 140 of 161, the Glen Seaton Sierra was running 8th in the pits. Engine has been off song since Glenn took over the car from Greg Hansford. They're trying to do some running repairs on the car. And climbing into the car is Glenn's father, Barry. The look of disappointment showing on Glenn's face.
Barry Seaton has seen some changes at Bathurst over the years. Won the race back in '65 in an old Cortina, and is quite staggered at the level of professionalism in touring car racing at the moment.
And father and son have shared a car before, but not in this manner. John Harvey's on the spot. Doesn't look too good, John.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, Gary. As a matter of fact, I think they're unsure what's the matter with it. They've checked all of the leads, all of the electrical connections, and then they've stopped and had a discussion. Now they've turned the engine off, and I think it's obviously going to be a very lengthy stop.
Yeah, picture without words. Even if you didn't have commentary, you could see what's going on here. The absolute disappointment in Glenn Seaton's face. He's put a lot of effort into this race. Certainly had very high hopes.
And that lap record, by the way, has gone to Mark Scaife. He is in the number 2 car. They're trying to get it back into the top 10. Let's go across to our pit studio with Sandy Roberts and a disappointed Neil Crompton.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Glenn Seaton is not the only one disappointed today. As you mentioned, Neil Crompton and his saga has been pretty well chronicled, I'm sorry to have to say, Neil. Not a good day at the office eventually.
No, it's just been one of those days, I guess, Sandy. You have them in motorsport, you have them in all sports, and I guess business as well. And there's no point carrying on like a girl, is there? You just have to keep grinning and bearing it and try and do a better job next time. I guess it was a little frustrating, and we felt we had a very good package. We got off to a pretty tough start, as I think most people know. Yeah. But part of the process that you go through to try and succeed in this caper is to keep on stepping back up and hit the ball, so I'm going to have to get back up there again.
Neil, thanks for your time. Bad luck today, but of course you'll be back again and bigger and better than ever.
Hopefully. Look forward to it. Thanks,
Let's
Sandy.
go back to the boys.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Cromley. Very good. Bad luck. Seaton rejoined in 11th posse. Well, if Nissan have come up smiles today, the Tony Longhurst attack seems to have petered out. Alan Jones steps from the 25 car. We'll have an update shortly from our boys in the pits, but they're ready to put this one behind the wall. Jones pitted while in 4th place. The GIO car, the Nissan, also in the pits, was running in 3rd, and it has now fired up and gone down pit lane. Jonesy's been there. John Harvey just moving in to have a chat to him to find out what actually went wrong with the car. Here's the 30 Peter Jackson car. Glenn Seaton has tried to crank one more lap out of it. It won't respond. John Harvey is with AJ at the moment. John?
Thank you, Mike. Yes, Alan Jones, the car's been running very, very strongly all day, and then all of a sudden, bang, out. Terminal, is it?
Well, it wasn't missing a beat. It was all the temperatures and pressures were just absolutely perfect, and I think it must be electrics because it just stopped dead. Just lost everything. I've coasted back in to the pits, and I think that's for the day, but it's disappointing because it was just running like clockwork as usual.
So obviously there's no chance of changing some electrics, computers or anything like that?
Well, there may be, but I think there's only 25 laps to go, so it might be a bit optimistic.
The Nissan car number 2 came into the pits, position number 9.
Mark Scaife has vacated the driving seat and no one is getting in. So there's problems here. Looking at the braking system of the car. And, oh, here we are. Plenty of that black gold pouring out from the bottom of the number 2 GTR. So something, it appears in the rear transmission like the diff.
Let's go down to the pits and see what's happening.
Yeah, it's fairly disappointing. It just keeps missing as soon as you put the throttle down, and it's just losing so much time, and you just can't drive it really. So I really thought we were going to do well today, but I suppose I've got to wait till next year.
Word from the pits was that car 2 suffered a drive shaft failure. It's probably not a good indicator to the lead car because Mark Scaife was absolutely wringing its neck. I think he did a 2:14.88 lap time, which is a new lap record for the race, so he was driving it absolutely 10 tenths. I think you'll find Jimmy will be stroking this thing along at the moment. But it'll be nervous times for Freddie Gibson. He did say 20 laps to go, and they're not home yet by a long shot.
Well, there's the number 1 car that dictates the pace. As we check out the Caltex race score, Richards and Scaife leading in the Nissan GTR. Percy and Grice, the defending champions, run in 2nd. Gibson, Onslow in the GIO Nissan GTR run 3rd. Brancatelli and Charlie O'Brien in the Synovus Vitamin Sierra run in 4th. 5th is Radicic and Shield. Position number 6, Fitzgerald and Denny Holm in the B and H BMW. Kevin Waldock and Brett Peters, great effort that, up to 7th. 8th is Bond and Crosby in the Caltech Sierra. 9th, the number 30 car, it's just dropped out, and that moves now. Tim and Alf Grant, one more spot. Oh, that's shades of last year, isn't that bad luck? Dave Barrow.
These guys
clouded that on the wall, hasn't turned, and now the 43 car straight off into the sand trap.
Goodness me, these two cars had a heck of a day.
Brian Bolwell, who put the package together, has wound up with some rather expensive repair bills. Queensland Plastics entry. Bad luck to Brian as we take our race cam. Sitting on top of Colin Bond's Caltech Sierra, car number 8.
Car 8 running in position 8. So Bondi sitting in the top 10 for most of the day. Had a few problems earlier on, but managed to get it together, and the car seemingly running reliably now. And there's our other race cam looking down the side of the Sierra, which gives you a good idea of the tyre distortions and how much the wheels move and the car slides around on the surface of the track. Holman and Fitzgerald continue in the one surviving B&H BMW.
They're running 6th outright too.
Well, one of them's hung together. And this is a good effort from these guys.
7th spot held by Kevin Waldock and Brett Peters. That's another great effort from them.
Peter Fitzgerald in the car at this stage, renowned as the Australian production car king. He's won the title twice.
Well, Johnny Brady is down in the pits. He's only one of 4 guys. I've been bringing you all the info all day. And Mark Scaife is standing next to him.
Yeah, you talk about young blokes who've had a good day. Mark Scaife, it must be one of the most nervous set of 7 laps you're going to sit through now.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's probably the most nervous 6 or 7 laps anybody could ever have. You know, I'm sure that's probably more nervous for Richo. He's starting to hear noises and all those things. But he's done a fantastic job, and I hope we win it for him.
You've both done a fantastic job with it. Going into today, it must have been frightening, the pressure on you, because everybody knew you were so fast. Everyone's expecting you to go out and do what you've done so far. But knowing that all that pressure was on you must have been hard to live up to.
Yeah, there was lots of pressure, but you know, the team's done a fantastic job this year. Not just today, they've done a good job all year, and you know, the preparation of the cars has been fantastic.
Have you pushed the car yet in this race?
We haven't really driven that car as hard as I just drove the car too, but you know, that car you know, has been faultless all day. We both, every time I got out of the car and I've said to Jimmy, what's the car like? He said, oh, it's fantastic, drive it again, Scapey. So it's been really good.
I'll keep your fingers crossed, your toes crossed, and I hope it goes well for you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, JB, and thank you, Mark Scaife. Blimey, I don't believe it, Fred's broken into a smile. As Jimmy Richards comes down at the end of Conrod Straight.
Well, 10 years ago, 1981, Nissan began their campaign for outright honours at Mount Panorama.
Last lap board out as Gentleman Jim looks for Bathurst victory, number 4. To the end of pit straight. Now up the mountain for the final time. The order. Oops, we've had one go off. Looks like the Dillman car there off on the side of the road. Little BMW. It was running second in its class. Yes, it's parked on the side of the road. So the order is Richards over Wynne Percy, Alan Grice, and Mark Gibbs, Rowan Onslow, as Bondi trying to limp round just to finish this lap off. Still running in 8th. This would still be a lonely time for Freddie Gibson to be so close, but we've seen things happen. Fred can remember leading one of the races here, popping a tyre and winding on his lid at Skyline. But the crowd should be ready to salute Jimmy Richards. And that they do as he heads down towards the 2WS sweeper for the final time. And here he comes. A great cheer for Gentleman Jim on his way to victory. And what a great year, the Australian Touring Car Championship. He's had to fight the young Turk, Mark Scaife, that has been groomed well and truly by Nissan. But with Mark in the car for pole day sprints and pole position for the race, and Jim there for the victory, somehow it all seems fair this afternoon at Bathurst.
Yes, when you think of the long list of Bathurst campaigns by this company, drivers like George Fury, Glenn Seaton, Terry Shield, Gary Scott, boys who've all been aboard Nissan products at one stage or another, always coming very close, but never close enough. Well, looks like they're going to do it, and it's certainly well-deserved. Nissan, long-time commitment to motorsport in this country and around the world, and they certainly deserve the success at Mount Panorama today.
Out of Caltech's chase now for the final time. A smile breaks out on the face of Fred Gibson. Anticipation on the face of Mark Scaife. The run down to the final corner. Here he comes. The very last corner of the 1991 Tui's 1000 at Mount Panorama, Bathurst. Checkered flag, Jim Richards, Nissan. That's his car. The whole exercise has been worthwhile for Fred Gibson Motorsport. Jubilant scenes as Jimmy Richards heads up Mountain Straight. Jim would love all of this. Win Percy, Alan Grice will finish second in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Third place will go to Bob Forbes Racing, the GIO Nissan GTR of Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow. And fourth place, well done to Alan Moffat, the Sonoma's Vitamins Ford Sierra with Big Charlie O'Brien and John Franco Brancatelli. And there's Jimmy on his way back towards Victory Lane, receiving the plaudits, and Freddie Gibson with a lot of happy people around him. They've done it, and the GIO car is across the line.
It's coughing and spluttering, but Gibbs has his arm out the window waving to the crowd, so he must be confident he's going to make it down. He's over the highest part of the circuit, and he can just about roll across from here. Great effort from Bob Forbes and the GIO operation. It's got the hiccups.
Hit the wrong button then. Well, one guy who should be delighted, Freddie Gibson, been under a lot of pressure this year, and with him Cameron Williams. Cam?
Fred Gibson, congratulations. Thanks, Cameron. Thanks very much. It's been a long time here. That's what we come here to do, is win the race, and hopefully today we were going to do it, and we have done that. So, I feel pretty happy for the team. They've done a super job the last week. We haven't had many troubles. I feel a bit disappointed with the second car not finishing, but one home's good if it wins it.
We'll have the official presentation up shortly. There's just a section of the huge crowd. I think the majority of them may have wanted a Holden victory. They got a Holden runner-up spot this year, and we saw a fascinating race. Let's check out the top five on our Caltex race score for you. Congratulations to Jimmy Richards, Mark Scaife, Freddie Gibson et al. At Nissan. A stunning victory. Win Percy and Alan Grice also for hanging in there all day on the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Third spot to, of course, Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow for GIO and Bob Forbes Racing. Fourth, it'll put a smile on the face of Alan Moffat, the number 10 car, Sonova's Vitamin Sierra of John Franco Brancatelli and Charlie O'Brien of Queensland. And finishing fifth, car number 20, Peter Fitzgerald and Denny Holm in the Benson and Hedges BMW.
The winners outright of the Tui's 1000 for 1991, Jim Richards and Mark Scaife. Jim, a three-time winner previously. You've been doing a great job for Nissan in the Touring Car Championship, and it must be fantastic to carry off today's victory.
Yes, it is. It's all credit to Fred Gibson and Nissan and Mark here. Thanks, top drive. Thank you, Yokohama, Nissan, and everybody else.
And Mark, you've driven both of the cars today, and you've shattered the touring car lap record here with a 2:14.5 in the number 2 car, and you've taken victory in the number 1 car. It's been a great day, plus pole position.
It's been a fantastic weekend. Thank you to all the team, especially to Freddie Gibson and the rest of the guys. They've done a great job all year, and well done, Richard. It's a fantastic drive for the day. I'd like to thank all our supporters that have come here this weekend also.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Managing Director of Tui's, Mr. Michael Westling.
To win the Tui's 1000, you certainly need more to be just than a first-class driver. They need lots of heart, lots of stamina. They certainly put it all together today. It's been a great win. Tui's is putting it together too. We're also a winning team, putting it together for Bathurst and for New South Wales. We congratulate Jim Richards and Mark Scaife on a great race, and we look forward to seeing them again next year, the next Tui's 1000. And we hope that they can feel like a Tui's or two with their mates this afternoon. Congratulations. Mark.
A wonderful day today, a wonderful day in particular for Nissan. They are the kings for 1991. On behalf of the entire team here at Bathurst, Sandy Roberts saying farewell.
This has been another 7 Sport production, the network of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics.